What is going on, you guys? It's your boy. Why is my bladder shrinking here? And we're back with volume 9 of the I talked to Mike for an hour about God knows what while doing menial tasks in my Let's Play world. Right now I'm just melting a bunch of glass for this tree farm, trying to fill it up. Did a bunch of wood harvesting earlier, but now I'm moving to the glass above to try and iron finish this build out. I have a tendency just to start shit and just not finish it. I think that's a tendency for a lot of people, is to just, especially people that want to accomplish a lot or something or have ambition, is they're good at like saying yes. And I realize I'm contradicting myself if you base off what I've said earlier. But people that know they should say yes, but then often have no follow through. Like everyone knows people that have terrible follow through. And to a certain extent, you can't follow through on everything you say. There's some stuff you're just gonna have to be a scumbag on because it's just unreasonable to follow through on everything. But ultimately, there's if it becomes a defining trait of somebody, that's when they reach like piece of shit territory, right? So it's not that it's not really that one or two instances of not following through makes you the piece of shit, right? Because that's everyone does it, right? Everyone, yeah, bro, let's hang out, and then like you never do. That doesn't make you a piece of shit. It's not auto, right? But people that habitually do that, and I realize that's hard to quantify as well. But ultimately, like, if you know type of thing, which isn't really a fair way to judge it, but that's what it is ultimately. But I feel like I try not to fall into that category. I try to have a good amount of follow through, enough to where I'm dependable for your average circumstance. I'm going to follow through more often than not. But in this world especially, there's a lot of things that I haven't quite finished. I haven't really followed through quite yet in its entirety, is what I'm trying to articulate. I haven't done one of these in like 2 or 3 days just because I was like busy doing work stuff, and then I also get through like, I don't know, I think it's normal to just go through like just general wanes in motivation and productivity and like production, right? It's crazy to me that like it might just be a thing that like young people have, is they're not like consistent, right? Like I can't consistently give you the same energy and output every day around the clock, right? It's like it wanes a lot, where it's like sometimes like I'm like on fucking cocaine, like I'm just getting literally everything done at a ridiculous pace. And other days, like the past couple of days, I've just done nothing. Like, haven't had that execution style follow through that, I'm always striving for. And then, I've flaked a fair bit on this and that. But I really think it's normal. I'm not going to beat myself up over it. But it is frustrating, especially if you always want to have like this Asperger's level of focus and executing everything that you say you're going to do and doing above and beyond what you do all the time. It's fucking impossible, all right? Unless you have you're artificially using some kind of stimulant drug to wire you into grinding 24/7 on something. Ultimately, people just don't want to do shit sometimes, and I fall in that category. I just don't want to do it, so fuck you. I'm not going to do it. And to a certain extent, I can make myself do it, but again, you draw out of the piggy bank of willpower to a certain extent after a while, which you don't want to do too often, because if you're always kind of dipping into your willpower, you eventually just end up hating yourself. I'm saying that from experience. So the more often that you just kind of make yourself do shit you don't want to do, you end up like, what the fuck? Why am I doing this to myself? But I don't know. There's a lot of nuance to it. I'm being reductive in talking about it, but as is the nature of anything, quite honestly, going through anything in its totality isn't really a possibility in a lot of cases. It's just it's an ideal that we can't reach in terms of like searching and going through every possible hole or branch in something. I think about like a tree, right? You can't, or like the branches of a tree. So you think about one idea or thought, have all these different trees and branches going out with technicalities and what if, well thens, type of thing. All these hypotheticals and things that you can draw from one idea, which is just the base of the tree. There's ultimately so many branches and leaves you could explore that a lot of times you just have to look at the tree from a distance and kind of say what it is, and feel open that some jackass is going to point at some leaf or some branch of your tree and say, well, this doesn't match the description of the tree you gave me, or this is not consistent with your description of the tree. It's like trying to describe this huge idea in like very basic terms. It's not possible. So you have to reduce it a little bit, which just leaves you open for any kind of criticism or really anything in any other analysis too as well. Just being like, well, you didn't talk about this or that. It's like, well, you can't it's not perfect. So deal with it, punk. So it's just like a commonality I see just with a lot of ideas is, I'm not sure if it's the expectation that you're supposed to be exhaustive, but it's not possible to be completely exhaustive when analyzing anything. I realize I'm speaking totally in abstraction here. I'm not really getting into any specific examples, which are the most relatable oftentimes. But again, I'm also trying to take a stab at the entire picture of the tree and not going down to specific examples, because that's kind of the point of what I'm saying. If you understand that. Well, that looks kind of cool. Yeah. So anyway, some interesting things just on my list in no particular order or level of importance, just kind of whatever. Apologies, right? Everyone's apologized for something. Probably rightfully so. There's times where, apologies are necessary. But an opinion I have is I really think apologies are truly meant, should be meant only for intimate social settings. And I'm not saying romantic. I'm saying like an apology to like your best friend for something. I don't know. That's fair, right? An apology to your significant other is fair. Apology to your family member is fair, right? These are the people where apologies are applicable. Where I don't see apologies as being useful at all is like in these like aggregate holistic settings. So you see these influencers or actors or celebrities or whatever apologizing en masse to their viewers. When have you ever looked better after apologizing? Like, I feel like apologizing is just an admittance, some white flag. It's an admittance that like you deserve all the hate and critique that you got, and it's like it doesn't even like repair anything. It's just like it doesn't help. I see no utility in people of high stature just like apologizing for shit all the time just because people are mad at what they say, and it just goes against any amount of learning from your mistakes, right? And I'm not saying you can't learn from your mistakes and apologize, but the fact that like an apology by nature includes an element of like shame, right? You're sorry, right? How do you feel when I say you're sorry, right? I'm sorry. That means like it's a somber attitude, right? That you've made a mistake you don't want to make again. You're going to do what you can to avoid that, right? which I realize in a lot of contexts makes sense. But ultimately, like, especially errors out of, ignorance or just by plain accident or mistake, like, you're meant to feel shame and sadness that you did that. When maybe in a lot of cases it was gonna happen. It's like inevitable. It wasn't a direct like cognizant like choice, right? It wasn't like I'm gonna fuck these people over. Fuck you, right? I should feel bad. It's like I just like did something and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, whoops, that was a mistake. I now realize that in retrospect, like I've learned, but now like I have to feel sorry, right? And now I'm going to be hyper careful that the next time I'm going to be unsure of myself on whether or not I should make X or Y decision, because I could feel, so I would have to feel sad that I did this wrong, right? And it's not like you're making a cognizant decision to fuck people over and you should be sorry that you're making the wrong decision. It's just like I didn't know this, or I just made the wrong call, and like I did what I thought was best. It wasn't out of malintent, but you're still expected to apologize in the same sense. It's like you started a gambling site for kids or something, and then all of a sudden, well, I had no idea. It's like, okay, you're a scumbag. Like, you obviously knew that. You were just trying to suckle money out or something. There's no example tied to this. I'm just I feel like that's something I heard where like because I watched a video. Again, I'm trying not to watch YouTube videos just because it gets me in just this gelatinous zombie-like catatonic mode where I don't want to do anything. But it was like the whole YouTuber apologies things, which are just funny, honestly. But one of them was like this dude who started like a gambling site for kids or something, and it's like that guy knew what he was doing the whole time, right? And he made a conscious decision to like fuck people over, right? But even then, like, the guy's a scumbag. He obviously made the decision, right? Like, no amount of him being sorry is going to change anyone's mind on whether or not it was purposeful, which it was. But my issue is that it's roped in at the same time with people that make honest mistakes, right? It's like, I don't know, you're a police officer and you see a terrorist or something, you fire your gun, you hit some old lady in the head, and now it's like, you have to like, it's obviously an honest mistake. Like, you think you're aiming at the old lady three layers deep through the drywall, right? You just missed a terrorist and hit the old lady in the head. Now, this is being a ridiculous example. I'm just saying that you could extrapolate it to this extent where it's like the difference there is like you want the same emotional response, right? You want them to feel sorry and shame that they did something bad. But ultimately, one was a conscious decision to fuck people over. I don't even know why I censor myself. Like fuck people over, versus like the cop who just like he made a judgment call to try to mow down the terrorists, and he missed, went through the driveway, hit the old lady in the head. Like, who am I, like, you blaming him for it? Like, it's his job. And you'll have people that have an outcry on their sides, and I think in one case you'd have people that like, I don't think the cop's a scumbag. I think he was doing his job. And then you'd have people that are like, obviously everyone fucked that guy who made kids gamble or something. I don't know, or got kids hooked on gambling. I don't know what the whole story was. I don't really care. But like equating those, I think, is dangerous. It's a dangerous precedent. So, okay, what's your solution, genius? In general, like, I don't think apologies should be the norm. Because even then, like, let's say you did something terrible, being on purpose, because you're a scumbag, right? I started a dropshipping company because I'm a scumbag. And I sold Chinese fake Gucci bags and marketed them as real Gucci bags. Okay, I'm a scumbag, all right? Everyone got that. What good is an apology going to do? Like, if anything, even from a PR perspective, just let it be nebulous. Maybe I'm not a scumbag, right? Anyone who is going to know I'm a scumbag, right? And I'm screwing people over regardless. And, and honestly, it's probably worse off, because if I apologize and you have all these, I'm added to the tier list of YouTube apologies, I'm just getting more press. I think if one thing we have learned over the last 5 years is all press is good press. People, again, I was talking about the whole, like, putting your dick in ice cream thing. Like, all press is good press. So if I make an apology video with some absolute malarkey response, I'm still going to get, and Moist Critical makes a freaking, response video. I'm just getting all the more publicity in the world. And even more kids are going to go buy my fake Gucci bags, right? But it's like I'm a known scumbag. So it's like you're almost just aiding and abetting that behavior by apologizing, right? And in the same vein, if I was a cop that missed a terrorist and hit an old lady in the head, me apologizing is as if I did it on purpose, and it was like a judgment mistake, when honestly it's like, it's probably the right call, because it's a terrorist or whatever. I'm not going to give any specifics to this example because it's ridiculous, but you understand the basic premise, right? And apologizing is like you made an error, and it's almost like, no, it was just a poor circumstance. It's unfortunate, but like apologizing, saying I'm sorry, I should be sad for doing this. Next time he's just gonna freeze, and the terrorist shoots him and the old lady. Now everyone's dead, right? So like, the apologies should be almost limited to like individual instances where you purposefully, on purpose, did something wrong to somebody on an individual or small group basis. That's when you should apologize, right? So it's like you told your brother you're gonna go shopping with him or something, and then you got lazy knowingly and was like, nah, fuck him, I'm gonna go whatever, and then he's offended or something, and you go shopping with your mom or something. He's like, why we should go shopping together. This is a stupid example. Again, I wish I don't. You can tell I don't write these videos, write this shit down, because these examples are just horrible. But you get the point. It's like, okay, it's an intimate setting. It's between me and him. It's personal, right? But it's like me making any kind of apology video, or the cop making an apology statement, or the police department making a statement on behalf of the cop. That, again, is accomplishing nothing, right? And we shouldn't attach like the term of the apology, the I'm sorry, the emotions that are corresponded with, giving an apology to two very, very different instances, where one is a purposeful, like, I'm going to fuck you over type of decision, versus just like a unfortunate circumstance, and it's not even a lapse of judgment, right? And on a mass scale, it doesn't make any sense, especially when a large amount of tension is involved. So I really think apologizing as a social interaction should be limited to intimate settings between friends, family, significant others, for individual acts of selfishness or of I'm gonna fuck you over type of thing, not like unfortunate things, right? Where someone couldn't really help it, right? Or was a random choice. They just made a random decision and ended up screwing somebody over, like on accident, right? That shouldn't be an apology thing. That shouldn't be apology shouldn't be associated then, right? Because what are you sorry for? Like, you didn't really make if you made a 50-50 judgment call, either way, it's like, it was almost at random. You could have flipped a coin. It's like you feeling bad for flipping the coin and getting whatever result is. Why should you be sorry for that? Why is an apology necessary, right? Versus you making a purposeful decision to fuck somebody over, right? Or, and I think the purpose is the important part of the apology, right? If there was malintent involved in an intimate setting, that's where apology is applicable. Otherwise, in a mass setting or any kind of accidental incidents where it's kind of just some random judgment call and you just, had to make some kind of arbitrary decision, what are you sorry for? I don't think we should attach all these negative, somber and sad emotions to it. I don't know. That's my take on apologies. I just think they're kind of just overused, and if we want to have value to anyone apologizing for anything, it should change the nature and when and where and why we apologize. But now it's like you do anything and you're demanded a public apology. Public apologies are worthless. They're nothing. They're just another press release. You might as well post an article, promoting your brand. Really, that's essentially the same thing as a public apology. You're not accomplishing anything. You're not righting any wrongs. You're just, drawing more attention to whatever bullshit thing you did. Plus, like, what you're supposed to be sorry for varies like so much now. Like, you know, it's the same sappy apology video for like cold-blooded murder than it is for like stubbing your toe or something. Again, I don't know. I'm not using great examples here, but the point is, like, you know, it's all so watered down. It's fucking meaningless. Like, you know, the apologies are worth nothing. If we want them to have value, they have to be, you know, scarcity is what kind of breeds value. So you can't have 100 billion gajillion of something and it be incredibly valuable. You know, so that's a piece of it as well. I don't know, just my 2 cents on the whole public apologies and why, for a large part, they're, oh no, is this off? It is. Fuck. Whatever. Yeah, anyway, so pretty interesting stuff. Not that anyone's going to take my advice for it, but people were thinking they might. Yeah, anyway, I don't know, let's go to my list. I'm drawing a blank here. Somebody had me, one of my commenters, aka somebody I know intimately, is a friend of mine, suggested I comment on like the alpha male stuff. So like the what like why, or is it useful, or I'm guessing he's just trying to see what my opinion is on, you know, the prospect of being an alpha male, or like what that means in today's society and all the things that go into that. And again, I'm not going to be going into the depths of the branches here. Just going to be looking at the tree and trying to extrapolate it into the greater thing of the forest, right? The world's a forest of ideas, and each tree is just some idea or some concept that people could spend a lifetime babbling over. You know, so I mean, what do I think of it? In short, I think its purpose is similar to a lot of things. Identity is one of them. You know, there's a whole like Havelow's hierarchy of needs or something, and I don't know the whole 5 pillars or something. Probably should, honestly. It's probably a good thing to have in your back pocket, but ultimately having some kind of communal identity is very important for a lot of people. So, and I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. I think, you know, you'd be a fool if you were going to argue with me on that. And people that lack the, I mean, I don't know if this is degrading, but like the creativity or the intelligence to form their own unique identity and understand that there's a lot of value in having a unique identity. I think it's fine if you want to subscribe to some alpha male thing. There's obviously a bunch of problems with it, right? There's really, anyone can have a problem with any kind of identity, or anyone can have a problem with anything, quite honestly. It's not like anything is like problematic free, right? The right person in the right weird headspace can twist and mangle any idea or words or anything into their benefit. So it's not like, you know, there's any foolproof identity you can subscribe to and be completely free from criticism in any way. It's also defined, the idea of an alpha male is defined so differently between like even individual groups and people, even society at whole. It's a pretty nebulously defined term. So depending on who you're talking to, it means totally different things, right? To a feminist, it probably just means, you know, I don't know, being a housewife or not being a housewife or something, or having a housewife. I don't know. I don't follow this stuff closely enough to have, you know, a great, well-rounded definition of anything. But ultimately, it's, in my mind, I see alpha male as just someone who's, you know, prioritizes some kind of dominance over their fellow humans. So this could be a physical or psychological dominance or advantage that they try to leverage in any situation possible, right? So it's almost like they're in this eternal dick measuring contest with the people that they interact with. And some people just enjoy that, right? this constant process of measuring up, right? Where do I stack up to the competition? But ultimately, like, it's kind of went back to what I was saying a long time ago, like 2 weeks ago when I made one of my first videos. I talked about just, now that we're interconnected in this digital age, the dick measuring contest has now grown to a worldwide scale, and so, your dick might have been big, proverbial dick. I'm not speaking about your literal dick. It's talking about your metaphorical dick, really. Would be much larger in a community scale, maybe 100 years ago, 50 years ago, probably even 30 years ago, hell. That now, like, it just kind of breeds insecurity, which is one big problem of this alpha male, where it's like, since you're kind of prioritizing dominance over people you interact with and groups that you're a part of, because the scale of comparison now is so large, you just feel insecure. And then there's, tendencies and thoughts and issues with having so much insecurity, right? Whereas I would think a better solution would be to create your own identity, and part of any successful identity, I think, internally at least, successful, I mean just not having major psychological drawbacks, is just not giving a fuck what anyone thinks about anything. Like, having an air of ignorant arrogance, right? Where it's I don't know, I don't care, right? I don't care what you think of me. I don't know what you think of me. I don't really give a fuck. Which is easier said than done, right? In a certain sense, there's value we always have intrinsically in caring what people think. But especially, I think, limiting who you put value on, caring about who you are, right? So, like, you might care what your family thinks of you, right? It's not like, fuck you, mom, I don't give a fuck. That's obviously, maybe your mom's not in your circle, I don't know. But ultimately, like, knowing that some stranger, you don't give a fuck what that guy thinks, I don't give a fuck. Versus, like, being this schizophrenic level of paranoid about people's opinions of you, and they have to be high, and, you have to show off your micro dick in a Lamborghini type of thing, where it's, it just kind of breeds insecurity. Everyone knows that's insecure, which I think is a big main drawback of the modern day alpha male, right? The alpha males, especially in times of war and historically times of where dominance is necessary, we need leaders. It could be a very kind of helpful identity to subscribe to, just as a community, as a group. But especially in a digital age, I don't quite see the benefit when again, that dick measuring contest is extended to the entirety of the world, and it just kind of breeds a lot of insecurity in people, and it's tough to deal with, especially since that's like the hallmark of the identity, is that you're secure in your in your person's, places, things, and effects, that you're that you're the guy, you're that guy, no doubt. Is that what the guy says? I'm that guy, pal. Absolutely. Yeah, that's what it is. Absolutely. But ultimately, here's the thing, you're not that guy, pal. You're not. Me? Oh, I am that guy. Absolutely. Yeah. So everyone kind of needs an identity, and some people just kind of find solace in they enjoy the dick measuring part of it, and maybe they feel they stand out somewhere. So it's a reasonable identity to subscribe to. But it has its fair share of shortcomings, especially in today's day and age, and it's probably more trouble than it's worth, I think, in a lot of cases. But ultimately, to each their own. So if someone's struggling with an identity and they kind of latch onto this alpha male type and kind of shadow their insecurities in other people, it's can't be judging anyone that much for it, right? Ultimately, people are trying their best. That's the way I like to view it. Except for those people that should apologize for what they're doing, knowingly fucking people over. I kind of think of it similarly to like the feminists, right? Actually, probably not. I don't really know. I haven't really thought too much about any of that. Oh, how sexist of me! I haven't been thinking about the feminist. But I don't know. It's also just an identity people can latch on to, and it's obviously problematic at scale, especially since there's a lot of conflicting views on things, and it just breeds a lot of competition versus collaboration, which coincidentally I also talked about in a previous video. I think the motion more towards competition as a live or die mechanism versus a low stakes kind of goal setting improvement mechanism is damaging and concerning. Collaboration should be at the forefront, I feel, just because it's can always accomplish more in a group as you can alone. That's what I noticed especially about different parts of the world. They kind of have different attitudes on that. And traditionally, a lot of places, really reward like high competition. Like, I'm going to step on your toes so that you can't cross the finish line. And surprisingly, I would even put America as a whole into the more collaborative category, right? More ironically, a lot of places don't value collaboration to the extent that Americans. Again, I'm speaking in mass. Obviously, I wish it was better all around, but a lot of countries, big countries, China, India, some parts of Asia that really value the individual contributions over that of a group, and collaborate when absolutely necessary versus as a medium to achieve more collectively. And it's not often the goal. They have the whole social ranking system is, again, what part of that is collaborative? Like, why would you, again, the worse your neighbor looks, the better you look, right? I realize I could be beating the shit out of a dead horse here and saying, work together and everything's good. I sound like a fucking hippie, but, ultimately there's a lot of truth there. So it's not like I'm, in my experience, there's truth there. Again, I don't, what does that mean, right? You know what I mean? So you could kind of go on forever, and pulling these different things apart. But ultimately, that's the way I see it. Is there's a lot of value there, and maybe other countries don't. So that's the way it should be. Way most things should be, or shouldn't be. Whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Let's talk about some other things that I hate. This is right in character. What's some stuff I hate? What's some stuff I hate about people? Let's not beat around the bush anymore. What do I hate about humans? In the same sense, I don't see a whole lot of utility in apologizing. I see no utility in just complaining as a whole. I realize how ironic that sounds, because you could theoretically frame, these videos as complaining, right? I don't think of it that way. I hope it doesn't come across that way, or it's like, oh, here's this dipshit complaining about God knows what. I'm not. I'm truly trying to use this as a medium just to, kind of psychoanalyze what's going on in my head. Again, to practice verbalizing what my internal dialogue, which is something useful, and to kind of think about things, right, through a critical and analytical lens. Not like just complaining, right? I see really define complaining more as this. I don't define it very specifically in the abstract, right? So if I'm speaking of abstract ideas and kind of pointing critiques and comparisons there, that to me isn't as much complaining as like, oh, my hairdresser is fucking so annoying, or whatever. I mean, I don't know, people like, I know people complain about, but not in that's the first example that came to mind. So, fuck you. But yeah, people just complain about stuff especially stuff that is just completely out of control, right? It's just like things that ultimately have no bearing on your life either way. And that, oh, it's raining. Okay, what, who's supposed to do anything about that, right? Versus, at least like, maybe complaining about somebody making a better decision or whatever, but like things that are just like RNG basically. That's the way I think of it in gamer terms. But like complaining about RNG is kind of a meaningless endeavor. I think everyone's guilty of it. It's not like one of those things where it's like, I'm a perfect non-complainer. I'll never get pissed about anything. Like it's normal to get kind of pissed over RNG, but people that again have that as a defining characteristic. Like same with the lack of follow through. It's like everyone to some extent, has at one point or the other lacked the follow through the execution they wish they had. But also people that have this habitual, complaining about RNG, this habitual, lack of follow through and execution. That's where I have the problem, right? I don't think anything in a small amount, or even as an oddity is a problem, right? So you could be like, damn, man, I wish it didn't rain. That sucks, but like constantly making it a fuck this RNG of the world, this all blows, is just kind of a shitty mindset, because it's generally not a very, productive thing to talk about and complain about. Like what, sorry, how am I supposed to help you with that, right? I guess it's from a very problem-solving lens. It doesn't mean anything. I guess the one function it does serve, it just makes you feel better. But I've never been one to prioritize, just makes myself feel good, right? I'll go sit in a bathtub all day if I wanted to like really just feel good all day. I'll sit in a bathtub and eat Cheetos, right? That's not like fucking. What's the point? Like that's not the point, right? Most of the stuff is just not going to go away, so you just like making it a point to habitually bitch about it. That's a pretty good bar. Habitually bitch. Habitually bitch about it is just not. You're not someone that anyone wants to be around. And so I think especially trying to catch myself ever doing anything like that is one way to try and attract people that don't complain about just shit they can't control. So it's one kind of thing I hate about people, I guess, bringing it back to what I started this conversation about. So that's one thing that just kind of irks me. And the same mindset, I suppose, is this, again, I hate using this term, but the fixed mindset and growth mindset. Again, I touched on this earlier, I think. Not earlier this episode, but early in the other episodes, just about people that just don't think they can do anything. They're just like so convinced they're unspectacular in every possible way that even the suggestion that they're capable of doing anything, impressive or new or interesting or isn't right in their wheelhouse is just so an unbelievably inane thought, right? It's like, have any, like, get, like, really, you can't, it's like being a baseball player who can only hit dick middle fastballs. It's like, oh, well, if it was a layup, I would have made it. It's like, okay, well, if you want to play in the NBA, you got to make tough shots, right? If you want to, do all these big picture things you want to do, you want to be CEO of a company, you can't just complain if you don't get layups, or like, I don't think I can make this shot. It's like, okay, great. You're never going to be in the NBA. You're never going to be the CEO of this huge company if you can't, if you're not okay with taking hard shots and missing, right? Versus like, just like only operating in your wheelhouse, only taking layups, only hitting dick middle fastballs. So, and I think it's just applying it to the greater view of life, where it's like you either view everything as something you could do or not, right? It's like could you bike 200 miles? If I roll out of bed and do it, I'd probably pass out or like break my leg or something. But I could do it if I wanted to, right? If I wanted to, I could. But like maybe I don't necessarily want to, right? Versus like I can't, right? I'm just not physically capable of biking 200 miles. I'm not a biker, It's just such a toxic and annoying person to be around who just can't do anything, right? Who can't learn to do anything or has no modularity to their stress response, or just shuts down into some useless ball of shit as soon as something gets difficult. It's frustrating to be around people like that, and I think to not be the person like me bitching and complaining about those people is to just exhibit it yourself, and maybe to some extent you'll attract other people. I don't believe in the law of attraction per se, where it's like, oh, well, the reason your friends suck is because you suck. It's like, okay, well, I don't know. If you just get better at everything, you'll just people will just automatically come to you that are better or something. I mean, maybe to a small extent, there's an element of truth in that. But the fact that if you just start getting ripped and all of a sudden all your friends are ripped, or you just lose all your pudgy little weak friends, you're only friends with bodybuilders. First of all, is that even really what you want? Honestly, there's a lot of value in people that have diversity of everything, including whatever the fuck that you're trying to attract. But ultimately, just there's also a lot of circumstances involved, especially when we're talking about social relationships, where it varies wildly in your life. When you're going to have a lot of the social interaction response, between different periods, right? Early on, the first 25 or so years of your life, it's this period, this peaked period where there's a lot of opportunities for friends and meeting people and this or that, and it levels off after a while. So the fact that if you're 40, you can just all of a sudden pick up and say, I'm not going to be friends with people who don't have super high ambition. So then you excommunicate all your friends with kids who've settled down to an extent, just to try and attract people who are future CEOs or something. You're just going to end up digging yourself into a hole. So it's not really the right attitude, the way to go about it, in my opinion. So I don't really believe in the law of attraction in a certainty sense. I think there's merit to it, right? But I think there's merit to everything, right? There's merits to even the dumbest arguments I've ever heard. Admittedly, there's still merits to it, right? Stalin was a good person or something. I don't know. You can, and okay, there's probably some tiny element of that I would probably agree with, but in the aggregate, I'm not going to live by it, right? And I think living by anything is stupid. So people that, I just live by the law of attraction. If I'm just gonna, go outside and scream I'm a winner, and all of a sudden I'm gonna win the lottery. I realize people that really live by that, I'm again being reductive, and just making enemies. But I don't think subscribing to any one thing is ever right. Ultimately, each of us are, collectively subcomponents of larger, opinions and ideas. So ultimately, there's people out there that need to be the end-all, be-all by one ideology or one thing, and that ultimately can be a part of everyone else. I'm not going to be the guy who's going to sell out for one individual virtue or character trait that I'm going to push on everyone else because it's right. I'm just being people that live and die by the law of attraction or something. That's all I can talk about. So while I kind of see their value in the sense that they might have people kind of moving a little bit farther in that direction, that that's their function, I suppose. Versus realistically, no one needs to abide by it to that extent, because you're kind of being foolish. So same with like even the political spectrum. Like you need people that are on these like ridiculous extremes. It's like those people ultimately, their goal isn't to get everyone to like live and die by whatever beliefs they have. It's just to move the needle a little bit. And I think everyone kind of knows that, right? People that hold these, wildly extreme beliefs in any number of things, right? It could be a life philosophy or just a political ideology, whatever it is. A lot of times they're not extreme in the sense that they like are holistically like, yeah, I'm gonna live or die by this. It's just like my brand is such that I'm trying to push the envelope in X, Y, or Z to move people in some direction, and that's their function, I guess. And I see utility in that. I mean, depending on what it is, but that's what you do, and that's part of how you can build a brand, right? Like society, in a general sense, values the specialist, right? It values the best doctor, right? The best athlete. It's not the selection of best athletes, or okay, obviously they do, but I just mean like there's this desire and drive to be the best, to be the resident expert, versus having just kind of a good perspective on a lot of different things, right? Being the generalist is not a rewarded thing in today's society. It's not being an okay doctor at every medical discipline. Well, it might be cool, like I could perform every type of surgery like decently okay. Nobody wants that, right? It's worthless. They want the specialist on something, and it's not, to me, it's not as fun to lead a life that you're boxed in, right? You have to be the anteater specialist, on something, instead of being interested in all the animals, which to me isn't as it's not as glorified in today's society. So it's just the way it works. Again, I don't really mind living by these rules. I just like to point these things out. Yeah, I don't ever want to come across the sense that I'm like, these rules are fucking stupid, let's all just pack up our bags and change. It's more so just like, let's recognize this as the function of how the world works. And not like, let's try to change everything. So, I don't know, that's just the way I think things should be thought about and viewed. Even as a whole, it's not that it's, everyone should be changing their mind about everything and agreeing with this nebulous opinion. It's just, let's agree that this is, in a general sense, the way a lot of things work. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's the way it is. But at least it's useful to at least acknowledge that and not live in ignorance that is what's rewarded. So yeah, I saw this thing where it's like this guy wrote a book on how to parent a genius or something like that. I don't remember exactly. You can look it up and find it. I'm not going to be accurate here entirely, but essentially wrote a book on how to be the parent of a genius, or how to parent your way into a genius. Right? This person believed, obviously, in the on the nature versus nurture argument. They were very much a nurturer believer, but they said there's these strategies you can impose to have your child be a genius at something. I think the dude had 3 daughters who were all chess grandmasters or chess masters or something like that, and one of the components of that was to specialize as much as you can as early as possible, starting at age 4 or something. Begin specializing in whatever it is that you want them to do, which as a parent is kind of a little fucked up, right? Essentially manipulating your child to being the best at some given thing, right? So if you wanted them to be the resident biophysicist that does research on X, Y, and Z, you're kind of breeding them for that, right? Which you're giving them I think the function of parenthood would be to give them the best kind of blank canvas possible, right? In terms of, if life is a canvas that you can draw on and experience, you want to give them at age 18 or age 20, whenever you kind of pull off the reins, give them a blank canvas, right? But I think, training your kids like that, where you're, trying to make them a genius at chess or something, you're kind of drawing on their canvas and taking a huge shit on it, Jackson Pollock style, which to me is, kind of scummy, You should apologize for that. But, oh fuck, I'm an idiot. But, yeah, I don't think I like that, just as a rule of thumb. I really think you should, give your kids the freedom to make decisions about what they want to do, right? It's kind of scummy, where if, like, your parents you're also kind of setting yourself up for failure, because inevitably, like, what if your kid just doesn't like chess, and, like, since 4 you were breeding them to be this chess master? Maybe they're probably really good at it, but now they can either, like, be really good at chess and win a chess tournament or something to make you happy, or they're just like, I like art, fuck chess, and then you're sitting there, this, like, disappointed parent, because, you thought you bred a failure because they gave up on chess, where it's like, you just, like, they just didn't like what you drew on their canvas, and now they have to, like, go get a new one or whatever, or, try to draw over the shit stain that you made on their canvas, like, whatever, however you want to apply this metaphor, you kind of get the point, I hope. But yeah, it's kind of a scumbag thing to do, honestly. At least that's the way I see it. I forgot what the fuck I was talking about with this, quite honestly. But anyway, it's oh yeah, that's right. The world doesn't really reward these generalists, right? It doesn't reward this nicely set up blank slate. It all rewards the people who have very specific skills that are marketable. And again, it's not that I don't like that as a way that society operates. I think it's fine. There's just not a great function for people that are generalists, that are good at a lot of different things, right? Even like job descriptions you look at, they want 5 years of some super ridiculous targeted experience, right? They want 7+ years in SQL, right? It's like, okay, well, what if I had, like, a bunch of experience in, like, a very similar database that wasn't SQL? Then, okay, no, I guess I don't have 7+ years in some super niche field. It's like, okay, well, then you're useless to me. It's like, okay, well, I have 1 year in pretty much every other conceivable framework. It's like, nope, you're worthless. Go fuck yourself. Which is frustrating for a lot of people. Not even in just the job market, but just in the greater society. It's frustrating that there's all this demand for hyper speciality, and I don't know if we're built to be hyper specialized in something and be like the best. I think some people are, certainly, absolutely. There's absolutely people that are built to be the best at one thing, but not everyone's built to be the best at one given thing, right? Some people are just built to be pretty good at a lot of different things, but as a society, we don't have as much capacity to support those people in terms of having them do something useful, right? A lot of times they end up forced into some hyper-specific role and then having kind of to adapt, even though it's not their style. And I would fall into that category. I think I'm not a hyper-specific genius on anything. Like, I kind of pride myself on having a variety of different things that I could do or be good at. I'm not like the best puppet master at some fucking weirdo thing and I can go to Broadway and do all this shit. It's like, but that's rewarded. That guy will make the millions of dollars, whereas people that are pretty good at like a lot of different things are worthless in a lot of ways, or made out to be worthless by a lot of people, which is frustrating for people. So myself included. But what are you gonna do? Complain about it? Anyway, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's interesting to think about and consider. But anyway, I'll pinch it off there. Kind of covered enough stuff today, but hope you enjoyed. Be back for some more next time. So leave a comment for me. Peace out. Peace.